think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done.
Well, it's Friday night. What's going on, everyone? Man, I love Friday night. I like hanging out West Virginia style on the voice of college football. West Virginia football at its best, right? Just hang out, have a good time. We don't do much on Friday nights. Just kind of like hang out, talk to everybody, and have a good time. Talk a little bit of West Virginia football. But tonight we're going to talk about all the conferences. We're going to talk about who we think might win those conferences and stuff, and just hang out with you guys. If anybody likes to come in with us, I will post the StreamYard link out there in the comment section. Anybody's welcome to come in with us and hang out. We'll talk some college football. Shane, I didn't expect you here tonight, man. Just like you popped in on me.
Well, I'll tell you what, Eugene, Oregon is such a nice place to fly in and out of. You know, I just jumped through security. I'm in a nice little airport bar. There's nobody there. It's Friday. All the flights pretty much gone. I'm catching a red eye to come back to Pennsylvania. And I thought, you know what, Joey, I got to jump on. I'm feeling the multi-conference vibe from being in Corvallis last night and being in Eugene tonight, and then I'm going to be flying into Pittsburgh, you know, tomorrow morning. Guys, I'll tell you what it's a great time to talk about football Friday night. So let's do it.
So you was out there in old Pac-12 country, and now you're in Big Ten country. Last night you were in Mountain West country. You know, now you're going to be coming back home to ACC country because you live in Pittsburgh, right? So I mean, and you follow the Big 12. So you know, if you follow
I did a lot. You know, Joey, last year I usually crap all over the Big 12, or not the Big 12, the Pac-12. But I was a huge fan of the Pac-12 last year, and you know what? There are some similarities, and I thought it was just me, but I was talking to a coworker who lives right outside of Corvallis who's a Beaver fan, and he said when he was in Morgantown, that was the closest vibe, and he used the term vibe, to what he felt being an Oregon State fan. So it's just not me. They're so similar. It's just spooky.
Well, yeah, I mean, about the same size town, right? You know, that's the same size university in each one. About the same type of enrollment, you know. So now as far as tradition, though, West Virginia's got more tradition as far as football and basketball and things, more than Oregon State. But yeah, it's a shame that Oregon State's not a Power 4 football program anymore. And I hope they get an invite in the next conference realignment and get to join back into a Power 4 program.
They are getting a lot more money now, with that being the two Pac-12 schools.
Oh yeah,
they kind of, you know, they were supposed to share the money, but then they kind of slick lawyer kind of, you know, just kind of made it so that they're the only two schools getting that revenue. They're going to do well this year and next year. However, I don't know. It's not a long-term solution. And they're going to have to find a home. You don't want to definitely brand down, and that's what happens. You basically dumb down. It's like being the smartest kid in, you know, art class. You know what I mean? You want to be the smartest kid in geometry. So you're hoping that they get an invite, but we'll see what happens.
So I want to go over tonight and talk about the conferences, the other conferences, and talk about who we think is going to win those conferences. And Timothy came in here with a great question for me right off the bat, and he says, "I think it's only a small amount of time until Oregon competes for Big Ten championship. It may take a year or two. What's your opinion, Joey?" So here's my opinion on that. Oregon is going to be my pick to win the Big Ten championship year one. I think they come in there and do it. I think Michigan's going to be falling a little bit back. New coach, new staff. I think Washington's the same way. New coach, new staff, new things going on. Ohio State maybe he's had a couple of changes, offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator in those areas, but same coach, same philosophy. But I just feel like Oregon's got a better team than Ohio State this year, and I just really feel like Oregon could win the Big Ten. That's my guess. Hey, we got Jackson Johnson coming in here. What's going on, Jackson?
How's it going, gents?
Hey, Jackson, what's your take? Joey says Oregon's going to win the Big Ten.
Well, right now, I've got Ohio State winning the Big Ten. However, I like Oregon's chances of winning the Natty more than I do Ohio State's chances.
Well,
I love it. I'm going to ride on your coattails, Joey. I agree. I think Oregon State comes to the Big Ten, and they're gonna nose in. If there's a pole position, I think Ohio State's there. With Michigan losing its coach, I think it moves to the 3 or 4 spot. And I think Oregon State is clearly a number 2 with Washington and Michigan. With Washington and Michigan kind of like neck and neck.
You're out there in Corvallis and you're hollering Oregon State. You mean Oregon. So I know what you meant.
I'm sorry, Oregon. Yeah, well, I'm in Eugene now, so I'm going to get kicked in the teeth because I'm actually at the airport in Eugene. But I'm going to tell you this. Yeah, I said Oregon State, but yeah, Oregon. And, Penn State, guys, we were crapping on them last night, and I'm going to continue to crap on them tonight. They're going to clearly be in the back seat to Oregon, to Washington. And, sorry, but there's not enough room at the table for the big dogs.
Right. I'm going to post the link one more time if anybody likes to come in with us and hang out. Come on, Hoghead, come on in here and talk about Hogfest with us if you want to. We'll bring up some stuff about Hogfest and talk about that for a little bit. But this is the link here to join us on StreamYard. All right, so we talked about Big Ten. We all got our thoughts on that. Let's shoot over let's shoot down to the SEC. Gosh, the SEC is just one of them things that I've been kind of up in the air with. But you know what? I'm gonna tell you, I like Auburn this year. I don't know if they're going to be conference championship, but I like Auburn this year. I'm going to, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just say I'm gonna go with Auburn. I'm gonna go with Auburn to pull out an upset and win the SEC this year. How about that? Now, is that a bold move?
I don't think, Joey. I think as long as you stay down at that same little, I'm just going to go over maybe about 100 miles, and I'm going to go over and cross the line into the red and black dog territory. I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs this year. I think they have a good opportunity to kind of fill the void. I think they have been filling the void for Alabama. I think they're right there. They are the cream of the crop of the SEC, and I think
they are.
And Mississippi State is also a decent team, but I think the Dogs will take it.
Yeah,
Jackson, what do you think?
I was thinking Mississippi State too when I was saying Auburn. I was also thinking Mississippi State, but then I was like, I don't know. For some reason, I'm just feeling Auburn for some damn reason this year, and that's over Georgia. So I don't know why, but okay, Jackson, he's going to say Alabama. Go ahead, Jackson.
I know he is. That's why I went Georgia.
Well, I mean, I think Georgia, Texas are going to go to the SEC title game. I'm thinking that Texas is going to beat Georgia in the regular season, but then Georgia's going to have their famous revenge game against Texas in the SEC title. Honestly, whoever makes it to the SEC title basically gets in the playoffs.
So what are y'all saying? Auburn's going 6-6. Is that what y'all are saying?
More like 7-5.
7-5. Well, I had to. Now, see, I thought about Texas, but I just feel like Texas and Georgia are going to beat up on each other. I thought about a lot of other teams like LSU and stuff. I don't know why I'm feeling Auburn this year, and I really don't know. I mean, there's no reason to be feeling Auburn, but I'm just feeling like Auburn might have a team this year. So
You can.
all right, over to the ACC. All right, so here's my pick to win the ACC, and everybody says I'm stupid. Call me stupid, call me crazy if you want to. I don't care. Miami is going to win the ACC and make the playoff and get a bye week. Miami's going undefeated and winning the ACC. There's my pick for the ACC. All right. What do you think, Shane?
I can tell you it's not going to be the Pitt Panthers, but
Well,
I think it's going to be a Florida school. I think it's either going to be Florida State or Miami. And you know what? I'm going to trust our boy who told us that the Canes are legit this year, and I'm going to, Joey, I have to ride on your coattails. I'm saying Hurricanes, the U.
Yep. All about the U this year in the ACC. How about you, Jackson?
I think Miami will be seeing more of the same, where they will play up to their opponents, they'll play down to their opponents. Like we could see them lose against like a South Florida or like a California. Next thing you know, we see them win against Florida State. They are one of those weird teams. We saw it last year against Georgia Tech. They shouldn't have lost it, but they did. They shouldn't have won against Clemson, but they did. They're a weird team like that.
All right. The final power conference is the Big 12. And only because their schedule is so friggin' easy, Utah. Utah is going to win the Big 12 because they got such an easy schedule. They won't play anybody other than Oklahoma State until they get to the Big 12 championship game. Now, Oregon could fall apart and lose 4 or 5 games this year on an easy schedule, and that would tickle me to death. But for now, they've got the easiest schedule in the Big 12, probably one of the easiest schedules in the nation. So I'm giving Utah the Big 12 just for that. You're unmuted. You're muted, Shane.
I'm picking West Virginia to finish number 2. They're going to make it to the Big 12 championship, and they're going to lose. But they make it into the playoffs. That's my pick. So who's going to win? I'm going to go with Oklahoma State.
So Oklahoma State would have to beat Utah and West Virginia both in the regular season.
Yes, sir. And they go to the playoffs a very high seed.
Yeah.
And that allows a possibility, just a little possibility, for a third Big 12 team to sneak in.
Yeah. All right. Jackson, what's your thoughts about the Big 12?
If Jalen Daniels can be healthy for a full season, Kansas can make history by winning the Big 12 for the first time in Big 12 history. They can win their first conference title since the 60s.
Has he ever stayed healthy longer than 3 games?
Not that much. He hasn't been that healthy.
I don't know of any time he's made it 3 full games. I just can't think of a single time that he made it 3 full games without an injury. And I hate that for the kid because the kid's really, really good. But yeah, he's kind of injury prone. Probably just because he's playing too hard. Maybe he can back off that a little bit this year and not try to do so much, but still do enough to win games, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And stay healthy. And I'm sure they've talked to him about that. I'm sure they have. Yeah, so that would be nice. It really would. Hey, I love look, Kansas is a good team no matter what. They've made their comeback, and they're a team to be reckoned with now. I mean, you're not going to walk in and just beat them like a drum like you used to. Kansas is
No.
a good team now. So.
I have a question for you, Joey and Jackson. If you had to pick a team other than say Jackson, I know you're not a West Virginia guy, but other than West Virginia, you have to watch Kansas or Utah every game all season. Which team would you pick? You're forced to watch every game. I know who I pick.
I'm going with Kansas.
Absolutely. And twice on Sunday.
Yeah, I want to watch that offense.
But Shane, could I make an exception to like watch Utah BYU, or is that a no?
Oh yeah, we gotta watch.
No, that'd be okay. It's a rivalry game. I get it. I get it.
I'm a sucker for rivalries coming back in college football.
Well, the Holy War is one that should never go away. That's for sure. I mean, I like the Holy War. There's a lot of rivalries that should never go away. That I like. The battle for the little brown jug, and the Virginia Tech and West Virginia battling out for the Black Diamond Trophy, and Pitt and West Virginia in the backyard brawl and stuff. I just think there's a lot of rivalries that should never went away, and I hate that. All right,
Yeah.
so we've guessed the Power Four conferences. Y'all want to go over and see what's going to happen in the Sun Belt? All right, Sun Belt.
Boys, I'm going to have to jump off. I just want to say lots of love.
Okay.
And hey, I'll catch you guys next week, same time, same station. Bye, guys.
All right, man. See you later, Shane. Thanks for popping in. All right, so let's talk about Sun Belt Conference. How about App State, Appalachian State winning the Sun Belt Conference?
I think it could come down to either Texas State or App State, really.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I really don't know any of the other conferences and the teams that are in them. I don't know why I even said that we talk about this, but I mean, I do know the Sun Belt Conference is probably the better of the conferences now. It used to be the AAC. Now I have a feeling it's the Sun Belt. Because you've got Old Dominion, Liberty, Texas State, Appalachian State. I mean, you've got some really good teams in there. I think that Sun Belt's better than the AAC anymore.
Liberty, they'll dominate the Conference USA again.
Yeah. So I think that now if we go out to Mountain West, isn't that where Oregon State and Washington State are playing?
No, Oregon State, Washington State are in the technically Pac-12.
Pac-12, right? But they're playing Mountain West. They're playing a Mountain West schedule, though, am I right?
Yep, they're on the CW.
Right, but their wins don't count for a Mountain West championship.
Nope,
just counts for Pac-12. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I think that both teams are a lot better teams than any team in the Mountain West, so they should dominate their schedules. I think they should beat everybody in the Mountain West that's on their schedules.
Well,
anyway.
I wonder if there's going to be a CW curse for some of the Mount West teams or for Oregon State, Washington State, kind of like how we've seen the ACC teams get cursed by them. I mean, Marshall, even though they're not an ACC school, they got cursed by the CW after they played NC State. They blew up for a little bit.
So he's thinking possible Marshall could win their conference. No. It's probably not possible for Marshall to win 5 games. Have you looked at their schedule? It's the hardest friggin' schedule I've ever seen in my life. Have you looked at their schedule, Jackson?
I've seen a little bit of it. They're back to having Virginia Tech.
Well, it's Marshall football schedule. Here we go. Let me go through it here and just bring this up. All right, so their football schedule. Here we go. They're starting off week 1, Stony Brook. Okay, that's fine. Stony Brook. Week 2, Virginia Tech. Week 3, Ohio State. Week 4, WMU. Okay, easy game. Week 5, App State. Week 6, Georgia Southern. Week 7, Georgia State. Week 8, Louisiana Monroe. Week 9, Southern Miss. Week 10, Coastal Carolina. Week 11, Old Dominion. Week 12, James Madison. I mean, that is a brutal friggin' schedule. That's absolutely, if you're Marshall, that's brutal. I mean, that's not a brutal schedule for any Power 4 team at all. That would be a cupcake schedule. This is a tough schedule when you're Marshall. When you're playing Virginia Tech and Ohio State, you're starting out your season with those 2 games back to back, weeks 2 and 3. And then all of a sudden you got App State and Georgia Southern and then Louisiana Monroe and Southern Miss and Old Dominion, Coastal Carolina and James Madison. These are top 25 programs year in and year out. So it's gonna be a tough schedule for Marshall. Marshall's gonna have a hard time with this schedule this year.
Yeah, I think Georgia Southern's going to smack them around a little bit.
So he says Florida Gators got a harder football schedule. Oh yeah, without a doubt. That's what I'm saying. That Marshall schedule wouldn't have been hard for a Power 4 program, but for a team like Marshall, that's going to be a really tough schedule. So Stephen, are you saying that Big Ten will have 4 teams in the SEC? We'll have 4 teams, and there will be only 4 other spots for the rest of us to fight for. Oh, so Stephen's saying something. Utah and Kansas State, only 1 team from Big 12 makes the playoffs, Stephen says. Okay. Well, I mean, that's always possible, but I doubt it. I think it'll be 2 teams from the Big 12 that'll make the playoffs. I really doubt very seriously there'll just be 1 team. But it is possible because the Big 12 is going to beat up on each other. Right? So I could very easily see Utah beating Oklahoma State, but Oklahoma State beating West Virginia, and West Virginia beating everybody on their schedule except for Oklahoma State. And then I could see Oklahoma State beating everybody on their schedule but Utah. And I could see Utah beating everybody on their schedule but Oklahoma State. I could see a scenario where there's going to be a lot of 1 or 2 lost teams in the Big 12. 1 and 2 lost teams. And it's going to be a tough year. It's going to be a tough year to figure out what's going on because there's a lot of polarity in the Big 12 to where every team, I don't care if you're playing a team that's going to be 10th in the Big 12 or you're playing a team that's going to be first in the Big 12. 1 through 10 are all equal teams. I don't think there's any team that's so much better than the other one. They're equal all the way down through there. At least the first 8 teams, but probably the first 10. But then you take the final 8 teams. If you say just 8, and then the final 8, well, the final 8 could beat you anytime too. They're all good football programs. They could all beat you. But yeah, the Big 12 is going to be one of those conferences this year that anybody can win it, and the people that you think are going to win it, well, they're probably going to lose it. They're probably not even going to come close to the championship. About like last year, the people that thought West Virginia was going to finish dead last in the conference, which was all the media and everybody out there that talked about West Virginia, talked about how bad they were, and they finished 4th. There's going to be a team like that again this year in the Big 12. That just is. It'll be TCU maybe, Texas Tech. Texas Tech's going to have a good year. Bottom line, I just feel like they are. TCU's going to have a lot better year than last year. Don't count them out. It wouldn't surprise me if TCU shot up there and they're picked to finish at the bottom of this conference. It wouldn't surprise me a bit to see them finish in the top 5. Just how this conference is.
Well, and I'll be honest, I can't help but feel like we're gonna see a lot of teams in the Big 12 ACC. They're gonna have to score a lot of style points, especially those that are competing for that playoff spot or that at-large spot.
Yeah,
because you're gonna see a lot of lobbying sessions, like especially on conference title week, from Greg Sankey on how there needs to be like a 8-4 SEC team as an at large. Because this team worked hard. It's like, no, they went 8-4.
Yeah. So I think there's no other conference out there that's top to bottom as good as the Big 12. Well, that has as much in common with everybody, right? Every football team is like everybody can beat everybody in the Big 12. Top to bottom, you have a good conference of a bunch of good football teams. The top 10, without a doubt, could play with anybody in the country. And so, therefore, when the top 10 do play each other, it's gonna be a little tough. So, looky here, who we got coming in with us. And I heard he was a little under the weather today. Rooster, how you feeling, brother?
Oh, a little bit better. Little bit better, Mr. Joey. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, brother. Glad you popped in here with us, man. We're sitting there talking. Did you hear my pick? Did you hear my pick for the SEC? Who I thought would win it?
You went with Auburn?
I just went with Auburn for the hell of it. I'm just going. I just feeling Auburn for the hell of it.
You
So
swinging for the fence?
I thought, why not? Yeah, we got somebody else wanting to pop in here with us for a little bit. Hey, Forrest, how you doing, buddy?
I'm wondering about sick.
Forrest, we're getting a bad echo from you. I'm gonna mute your mic for a second. You might have your YouTube on. You have your YouTube on, Forrest? All right, I think Forrest has his YouTube on. I'm gonna mute him for a minute here and let him get that thing up. Okay, let me unmute him. He's talking.
Everybody here today's sick.
All right, so yeah, Forrest, we're getting bad feedback from you, man. Your YouTube or something on?
Yeah, hold it. Yeah.
Yeah, turn your
All
YouTube
right,
off.
there we go. Close that out.
All right. Oh my goodness. Well, no, I'm still getting a little echo. Still getting echo back. Maybe your speakers or something.
Yeah, let's see.
You got some headphones or something?
No?
I'm gonna mute you for a minute. I'll mute you for a minute. All right, we'll move on. We'll let him figure out what's going on there and why we're getting feedback. All right. So anyway, Rooster, yeah, I picked Auburn. I just said, I figure Auburn's going to have a pretty good year. I know everybody's telling me 5 or 6 games is what they're going to win. 7-5. Jackson said 7-5. I just think Auburn's going to be a pretty good team this year. What's South Carolina going to do, Rooster?
I dropped when I did my South Carolina prediction. I had us at 7-5. Realistic, I think it's somewhere between 6 and 6. 7-5 if they can beat Kentucky after week 2.
So you've got 7-5 for a ceiling, or just your prediction?
Just my prediction. Our schedule's pretty tough. The only thing, we get LSU at home, but then we have Ole Miss coming right after that. We got Alabama on our schedule this year, and we always have Clemson. I think Clemson will be a better football team this year and play better than they did last year. So it's always a little rough, especially when you got a brand new quarterback starting. Really only got 4 snaps under his belt. Hopefully the offensive line is a lot better this year. We went through a lot of injuries. We lost like 9 offensive linemen last year. So we got to see how those guys perform.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't care who you are when you lose 9 offensive linemen. That can be tough on anybody because, most people only have 7 or 8, and that includes their depth, that they feel comfortable playing all the time. So, yeah, losing 9 of them had to be rough. All right, let's see if Forrest is back with us. All right, Forrest, I muted you. Let's see. Nope, I'm still getting feedback. I hear myself. So it's got to be your speakers and your mic picking your speakers up or something. All right, I muted him back again. So all right, okay, Jackson, you look like you up here wanting to talk about something. What do you want to say?
Well, we'll say I'm hoping South Carolina goes 7-5. I want to see them beat Kentucky.
Yeah, I think that's a good football. I think that's going to be a really good football game. Teams are kind of comparable. I think if you look, Kentucky's probably got a little edge on wide receiver with Barry and Brown, Dane Key. Their pass rush was much better than South Carolina's last year with that Deion Walker kid and those guys up front. He's kind of a menace. So, Running back room, I'd lean South Carolina. Probably DB room, I'd lean South Carolina. So I think they're pretty equal when it comes to where they stand with talent on their football teams right at this moment. And both, Brock Vandegrift and Lenore Sellers both have a lot of questions to get answered. So
All right, so Timothy Green asked me to put Florida's football schedule up here. So there we go. All right, Florida's football schedule. Here we go. Well, let me hit the back button here. All right, so we have Samford, game 1, September 7th. No, August 31st. There we go. Miami. Miami open up against Miami, August 31st. Then they got Samford, then Texas A&M, Mississippi State, UCF, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas. Oh my God. LSU, Ole Miss.
LSU?
Oh my God. And Florida State. Holy shit. Is Florida going to win a game this year? My God.
Yeah.
Look at
Joey,
here.
I couldn't
Florida
hear
State.
that last
That's a
name.
loss.
Ellis who? Ellis who?
Look, I'm gonna look at this. Florida State. Florida's gonna lose, or Florida's gonna lose against Florida State. Florida's gonna lose against Ole Miss. Florida's gonna lose against LSU. Florida's gonna lose against Texas. Florida's gonna lose against Georgia. Florida might not win beat Kentucky, but I'll give them the win for now. Florida's gonna lose against Tennessee. That's 6 losses. Florida's gonna lose against Texas A&M. That's 7 losses. Florida's going to lose against Miami. That's 8 losses right off the bat that I can see. That's a 4-8 schedule for Texas.
Well, and the other
for
part
Florida.
of that too, Mr. Joy, is when you start getting later into Florida schedule, depending on how the beginning of the season goes, they might be in the middle of looking for a coach.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think that'll affect the mindset of that football team. They have to beat Miami if they're thinking about doing anything. They got to start. You can't let Miami come into the swamp and take you out. I haven't done Florida's prediction yet, but I mean, I think that's the foremost important game for the Gators. You got to protect your house to start the season. If not, it's just going to get rougher and rougher for the Gators.
Yeah, the thing about it is you look at that schedule, and that schedule, if they'd have played that schedule back in 95, Florida would have won every one of them games. That it would have been an easy pick to pick Florida. But right now, I just can't pick Florida on these games. I just can't do it. I can see 8 losses there just from looking at it from my first glance. I see 8 losses. Now, if I sat and studied and looked it over and everything, maybe I changed that. But for right now, yeah, I just don't see it.
I think Florida could go 7-5. I think they could win that LSU game on account of the fact that LSU is going to be coming off the Alabama game. They're going to let it go to their heads a little bit. So what are they going to do? They're heading over to the swamp. Then we see Florida upsetting the LSU Tigers, something I don't think anybody would have said 3 decades ago. And after Florida State, a day later or the hours leading up to it, I think we're going to see Billy Napier's agent do a lobbying session as to why they should keep Billy Napier for 2025.
Hey, look here. I've unmuted Forrest's mic, and I'm not getting an echo back. Forrest, you've got it fixed, buddy. You sound good, man.
Oh, well, now I'm not talking, so I really sound best when I'm not saying a word.
No, I meant the feedback. I wasn't getting no feedback from you. The feedback wasn't coming back through.
Yeah,
I got one more person in the back room. I'm going to bring them in because I invited them here to come and talk to us a little bit. That's Hoghead. What's going on, Hoghead?
Hey, guys, what's up?
What's going on, buddy?
Wait.
Man, we're ready for Hogfest. Hey, Rooster, you coming up to Hogfest?
No, we won't be able to come.
Oh, man, I hate that.
Well,
Yeah.
we're under pressure to get that stadium finished up. They're trying to push us out of there. They got to bring in temporary seating and all that stuff for the season. So they're trying to make us work weekends and everything they can to get that thing done.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to hear that, Rooster. You're going to be missed, buddy.
I know we're gonna miss it too. We really wanted to go, but Mama Tori just started a new job and everything, and what they're doing to me. Just I got about probably 2 weeks left of this night shift crap, and then I'll be back on getting my shows going again and be more consistent.
That'll be good, man. I'm looking forward to your shows. I've been missing them, dude.
But I was gonna do one tonight, but I don't know. I really wasn't feeling that good, and then Joey texted me. I'm like, yeah, I'll pop on for a little while with you.
Yeah, I just decided to just come on and just hang out a little while. This Shane does a show on Friday nights, and Shane wasn't able to because he's traveling, so we canceled the show for tonight. But then, the more I sat and thought about it, I thought, hell, let's just go live and just hang out and talk. We'll just hang out and have some fun. Because I didn't really have anything to talk about except, hey, guess what? Just a couple more weeks and college football season is here, man. We're ready to go,
Oh yeah.
And it's getting really close to the college football season. So this is like the time of year when I start getting a little nervous, a little anxious. I'm excited about my Mountaineers. What are they going to be able to do on the field? I know when I talked to Neil Brown, he was seemed just excited, electrified about this year and what was going to happen. Is that going to translate into wins on the field? That's what I'm hoping for, right? We're all hoping for a Big 12 championship out of West Virginia this year. But let's not forget that it's a climb, right? So we went 9-4 last year, a great year. 8-4 and then 9-4 after the bowl game, but 8-4 in the regular season. So if we can get the 9 wins, we're trusting the climb, right? We just need to get the 9 wins. If we get the 8 wins again, hey, I'm happy with that too. But this year, it just feels like this is that 10 or 11 win season. This is a 10 or 11 win season for West Virginia, and I can just feel that happening. I think we will end up getting a play for the Big 12 championship. Not saying we're going to win it, but so here's what I'm thinking is going to happen in Big 12. Because I see a lot of people saying, well, is the Big 12 going to get 2 teams in? I think they will, but here's the thing. I don't think it's going to be the team that plays in the Big 12 championship game and loses. Because I think West Virginia, Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Kansas, they're all going to have a loss or 2 when they go into that Big 12 championship game. So let's just say West Virginia and Utah play. And West Virginia's got 2 losses already, and Utah has 1 loss. And they go into play, and Utah wins the game. Now, all of a sudden, West Virginia's got 3 losses. But let's say there was another team that's only got 2 losses right behind West Virginia. I think they would get the pick to go play in the playoffs. So I see that happening to where the actual second place team in the Big 12 gets picked over for the third place team. I could see that happening.
Yeah, when in that scenario, the team that loses would kind of drop to being the third team in the Big
Right.
12. And I agree with your theory, with one exception. I do think Utah and West Virginia are going to meet in the conference championship, but West Virginia is going to win.
And then that's very well a possibility. I mean, that's for sure. That's a very strong possibility that they could win that game. There's no doubt about it that West Virginia is probably one of the stronger teams in the conference this year. But I look at some other teams too that are also pretty strong. A lot of people aren't talking about Iowa State. You better watch out for Iowa State. Iowa State has grown ass men on offensive and defensive line, and we're talking 5th and 6th year seniors from tackle to tackle. So you better watch out for Iowa State.
West Virginia's in the same spot.
They are
straight across the line. It's worrisome for 2024. We're going to have a lot of, 25 be very young on the defensive line, but offensive, defensive line are both highly experienced.
Well, now, Forrest, how about how well Neil Brown's doing in the recruiting for 2025? I looked a while ago. We're 25th in the country right now on Rivals, and I think 31st in the country on 24/7. But I know that Rivals at one time last week we got up to 19th. So we're down to 25th now. But hey, if we can stay in the top 35 recruiting class, that's kind of trusting the climb too, because Neil Brown, when he came in, Dana Holgerson was recruiting in the 60s and 70s guys. He was horrible. He was terrible in recruiting.
Well,
And Neil Brown come in, and we started building up our recruiting, and now looks like we'll be a top 35 class this year. Anyway,
the biggest difference between Holgerson and Brown is Holgerson did not recruit with any plan, and Brown plans everything he does.
right.
And these recruits, I mean, they decide how many guys they want in a room, what attributes they want them to have. They identify the guys they want, they go after them. And this year, I think, on offense, they got almost every single guy that they tagged as their number one guy they want in that spot. And that, I'll take that over the ratings. They got the guys they wanted. And I think, if you look at the roster now, where depth used to be such a big problem, we're getting to where we're 2 and 3 deep at every position. And that's just been very, very targeted recruiting with the help of the portal in the defensive backfield.
So I'm looking forward to. We got a lot of good transfers in this year too, especially in that secondary. Getting some transfers from Ohio State, Northwestern, Mississippi State. Matter of fact, we switched off Mississippi State, gave them a wide receiver, and we took a cornerback. We gave them a 4-star wide receiver that was a 4-star recruit, but we got a cornerback that was a 4-star recruit for them. So it's kind of a good trade there because we needed a cornerback more than a wide receiver. So I like that the portal, the transfer portal seems to be doing well. The players that are leaving West Virginia are the players that are getting pushed out of the program, right? They're not living up to it. It's not like they're leaving for more money somewhere else.
Right.
Our NIL program has finally got it going.
You've got younger guys coming in and moving ahead of them, and then they move to, quite often a lower conference just for playing time.
Right. Yep. And I'm real happy about our how well we're doing. And Hoghead, I was just getting ready to start talking to Hoghead. I was just getting ready to start talking to you again about Hogfest and bringing that up. And I was looking for my banner for Hogfest that I couldn't find it, Hoghead. And now I found it. So anyway, I'll put that up there. Hogfest 2024, Slobs, Grilling and Chilling. Everyone is invited. All you got to do is contact Hoghead. You see Hoghead there in the chat. But his email is on here, caltalent@ymail.com. That is an email address, caltalent@ymail.com. Screenshot this. Get a hold of him. That's coming up here next week, July 18th to the 21st, Robbinsville, North Carolina. Looking forward to that. I'm going to be there. Uncle Lou and Battle Angel are going to be there. Traveling Fools is going to be there. I don't think Pigskin Pete's going to make it this year. He's got to be out of town. Rooster said he can't make it in, but we're going to have a lot of YouTubers there for everyone to come meet, hang out with, and just have a good time with. So come and hang out with us. Hoghead's bought all kinds of ribeyes. My goodness gracious, man! He text messaged me the other day and told me something about happened. I think he said 44 ribeyes. I bought 44 ribeyes today for Saturday night. They're 1.5 inches thick, and I'm like, damn it, Christmas, man! Heck yeah! I want my ribeye.
Holy Toledo.
I want my ribeye now. Let's do them now. Hell yeah, man! I'm looking forward to Saturday night at Hoghead. But everybody's invited. Get a hold of Hoghead, and stuff, and come on up. Come on up. There's plenty of room. Promise you, there's still plenty of room. You guys come on up. So anyway, all right. What do you want to talk about, man? Like I say, I'm just throwing this stream up to hang out and chat. Rooster, what you got on your mind? What do you want to talk about, Rooster? Anything interesting? Let's talk about this news. Florida State and Clemson may be coming to the Big 12. Now, listen. First off, I don't deal in speculation ever, and I don't allow it ever on this channel, on this network channels. Really, we don't do that speculation. But there are a lot of reporters reporting that Florida State and Clemson are in talks with the Big 12. And we do know the Big 12 could possibly get a big influx of cash, like $1 billion from an outside source. And if we leverage that money right, and we say, hey, Florida State, Clemson, here's $100 million each to help you get out of the ACC and get over here to the Big 12 with us. We're going to give you $100 million to help you leave the conference and get out. Come over here with us and give you full revenue share right off the bat. That could be pretty good. That could be really good for the Big 12 and Clemson and for Florida State. If the Big 12 gets that money and leverages it. Now, I don't think there's a chance we get Florida State and Clemson without throwing a lot of money at it, without leveraging that money and throwing a lot of money at it. So, these people that are saying Florida State and Clemson are in talk with the Big 12, maybe so, but I think that talk is about how much money are you going to throw our way? Because why, what would be, they could leave the ACC and making $32 million a year to come to the Big 12 and make $35 million a year. Now, $3 million is not going to really do much. Now, mind you, they do get 2 or 3 rights. That's another $7 or $8 million in the Big 12, and they get that added on, and then all the bowl games and stuff, and they'll end up with a $50 million check. But they could get that same check pretty much in the ACC right now after bowl games and stuff. So I think it would just take a lot of money. We have to leverage the $1 billion, take it, start throwing it some money at Florida State and Clemson to help them out of the ACC. I think that's the only way we get them. Rooster, what do you think? Do you think there's even a chance that Florida State and Clemson are really even considering Big 12?
Well, Mr. Joy, I don't know if you remember this, but a while back, remember the whole rumor came out about Florida State and they were looking into private equity themselves to with the money to try to buy their way out. Now, Florida State's not broke. And I don't know if this number's a true number, but I've been told since I've been working up in that area that there's about $750 million going into that football program between the stadium, other things that they're building for their athletic departments around Florida State. They're spending some money to go somewhere. They're not spending that money to sit still. So, I mean, if it's the Big 12 and that's what it is, that somebody comes up with some money to get them over there, maybe they do. Here's the problem. If the Big 12 sells their soul to bring them in, and they don't sign a grant of rights, and they bail out on the Big 12 in 4 or 5 years, where does that leave the Big 12?
Yeah, I don't think they would throw $100 million at them unless they did sign the grant of rights. I think that would be the one thing that they would make them do. You guys go ahead and talk. I'll be right back. Sorry.
I mean, I don't know what your opinion is on that, Forrest or Jackson, but I mean, those teams have money. They're not broke.
Oh, yeah.
My thing is, I don't want to. I'd rather have, of course, as a West Virginia fan, I want Virginia Tech and Pitt anyway. But if question is, would Florida State and Clemson be coming in just to take the place that Oklahoma and Texas left of trying to be the big guns running the show? And if we're tossing that kind of money at them, we're basically telling them they're the big guns. And we destroy the whole parity idea that people have worked so hard to sell about the Big 12. So, yeah, maybe there are talks, maybe there aren't. I'm not convinced the talks are going to go anywhere. But I really, if Florida State and Clemson want to be in the Big 12, let them come into the Big 12 the same way everybody else did, play by the same rules, or let them go someplace else. I'm not impressed.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, I had somebody at the door, and I'm glad I went up and got the door. This was for Nate. So Nate, he's got his show's called the Shit Show. I ordered him a sign. I didn't think it was going to come, but that's
We
what was
got
just
fun and
delivered.
games.
That's what was just delivered. So I've got Nate all kinds of shit show stuff. Take him. It's going to be fixed up. Anyway, all right.
Oh, believe me, what you just said
You're
for
making
us,
fun of you anyway, so
what you just said for us, like it's funny, because I've been in some battles in Facebook, football groups and on Twitter and stuff with the OU man and the Texas man, and they're going to come in the SEC and they do this and that, and they throw up their history, and then you throw up like some stat, and then at the end of the day, you just look at them and say, okay, but your history has what to do with 2024 because none of those players are on your roster. So yeah, it's funny that they go back and forth with each other. We're just sitting there like, you're a new kid, man. You're going to come in and you're going to earn the respect. No one in the SEC is just going to sit on the sideline and say, "Oh, here you go, Oklahoma and Texas. Here's y'all's tradition. We're going to bow down to y'all and give you everything you think you're going to get," because it ain't happening. Kentucky's, the South Carolina, the Mississippi States, the what they love to refer to as mid-tier. Going in to play any of those guys in their home stadium is not an easy task. I don't care how good you are.
Hey, Connor, just someone tell you where to go? Mountain West, Connor. Mountain West is calling. No, I'm just kidding with you, man. We was talking about Oregon State there earlier, man. We want to get you guys back in Power Conference. And I'm hoping when this conference realignment's done this next time that you guys and Washington State can be back in a Power Conference. Because yeah, you look, and there's no sense in putting teams out like Oregon State and Washington State, who can actually win some freaking football games, but then have teams like Purdue and Vanderbilt, shit, in power conferences. I mean, come on, it makes no sense. So, yeah, I'm pulling for you, Connor. I'm pulling for you.
Well, let me ask you guys this: what the effect of this settlement, $20 to $22 million, whatever it's going to be that these schools are paying out? Is that not going to put a stop to some of these schools, the travel expenses and all that stuff of bouncing around the country? I mean, that's a lot of money to put out every year. And then you got to spend all that money flying to California, from California to the East Coast, back to the West Coast. Does that kind of slow some of this realignment talk down and teams start staying put a little more?
Yeah.
I don't remember who wrote it, but somebody was saying in a few years we're going to end up right back where we were with, we'll have the big conferences, but then within the conferences there'll be regional leagues, so that we're back to playing old rivals and that sort of thing. It'll just be kind of under a bigger umbrella. But no, I don't think this coast to coast stuff is not sustainable for the programs or the athletes. Not, especially, not for something like basketball where you're traveling so many, maybe going 2 or 3 days on the road a week.
No, they'll get tired of that eventually. I'd love to see it go back to regionality, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Well, I'm kind of fine because I did have the thing where they had broken it up into 7 conferences, and had the 7 conferences, and it kind of looked like where they brought back some of the old Big East. They put Penn State, West Virginia, Pitt, Virginia Tech into the same bracket and things, which really good, and it held some rivalries. But they just broke up all the conferences. There was no more Big Ten or SEC or ACC or Big 12. They just broke everything up and regionally placed us in conferences. And it was really good. And there was 7 conferences. I liked it. It ain't never going to happen, but I liked it.
Well, I think something like that may have to happen, but then you set it up so that the playoff system is where you start getting the interconference and cross country games. I mean, we want big games. We like big teams playing each other. But
Well, the thing about it is, you got to remember, Forrest, conferences don't shrink. Conferences grow. If they do lose a team or two, what do? They put 4 teams in the place of 2. They grow. That's all conferences ever do. You don't never see them putting teams out, right? If you've seen conferences put teams out, Vanderbilt would have been gone a long time ago. You know, I mean, honestly, let's think about it. Kansas would have been gone a long time ago from the Big 12. You know, except for their basketball, which is always amazing. So you got to think about it's not just it's not the conferences are not going to shrink. They're going to continue to grow. So the Big 12's got 16 teams in it right now. Big 10's got 16. SEC, how many's in the SEC? 16? 16. So everybody's at 16 teams right now. And they're talking about adding more. Every conference other than the ACC is talking about adding more. And we're talking about adding from the ACC. So it's just not going to shrink. So I don't see us ever getting back to where we have 7 different conferences and teams are broken up and there's 6 or 7 teams in each conference and they all play each other. And, you know, and I think that's kind of an ideal way to do it. I just don't see it's ever going to happen.
well, but yeah,
Conferences don't deflate; they inflate.
the story I was reading, it was you have the big conferences, but the conferences have divisions like the NFL model. And then you play your season primarily within your conference, which is regional. And then as you play some games, outside of your conference or outside of your division. I'm get the language mixed up. So, we can have the big conferences that are cross country, but we have regional divisions within the conferences. The conferences are big enough that we can do it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what, like when the SEC, when it first came out about adding OU and Texas, and if they were going to expand more, was that little pod system they had talked about. Because if you make it to 20, then you split it in 4 or 5 team. It is an NFL model where you'll have your east, west, north, south, whatever it is, and then you'll play your 4 teams. If you're the 5th team, you play your 4 teams plus 5 from a different pod. Each year it rotates through, and then you still have the 9 conference football games. I think that was kind of one of the ideas that was thrown out when they first started all this expansion and realignment and all that stuff.
But do we really want an NFL model? That's just following an NFL model. And I know a lot of people, a lot of college football fans are saying, when we get to an NFL model is when I quit watching college football. But let's face it, if they was to go back now and add divisions, we would all be happy. Especially if West Virginia got put in some kind of division where they could play a Pitt and a Virginia Tech on a regular basis. That would be exciting. But I just don't see that happening anytime soon. Because obviously there's so many teams that are not in a conference where you're going to be able to break them up to where they're going to have rivalries, like West Virginia. Who are you going to break them up with? What's going to be the division? Cincinnati, UCF, and who out of the Big 12. So there's nothing there for West Virginia in that. Look at the Stanford and Cal. They're in the ACC. What are you going? Who's Cal? What's going to be Cal's schedule? Clemson, Florida State, and
Wake Forest.
Yeah, Wake Forest. I mean, come on. So I don't know how these division things could work unless there's some serious conference realignment to where a lot of teams move.
SMU, now that's another team that really doesn't have any rivals. No rivals in the ACC. I mean, seriously, who's going to get excited about SMU Stanford? Nobody.
But if you think about it, and Florida Clemson gets out, North Carolina decides they're leaving. The ACC's basically going to fall apart. So there's teams out there available that go knocking on the door to the Big 12, which is your Pitt, your Virginia Tech. You got Syracuse up there. You got Boston College. They're all going to want to go somewhere. So if
I'm
you
gonna be
went
honest
to
with
a 20 or 24 team league and you split it up, you can still rotate through your little pod. It's the NFL model. They can call it pods. They can call it whatever they want to. It's basically divisions.
I think there's a possibility that if the ACC dissolves, if Florida State and Clemson and North Carolina and one other team, Virginia, whoever it might be, jump and they go to the SEC and Big Ten, all right? And the rest of the teams are going to scramble to try to get somewhere. If the Big 12 picks teams, I could see a scenario where Pitt gets left out. I could see a scenario where the SEC takes 2 teams, the Big 10 takes 2 teams, and the Big 12 takes 2 teams. And those 2 teams are Miami and Louisville. And Pitt gets left out. And Virginia Tech gets left out. I could see that. Now, that would mean that the ACC could be saved, though. They could bring in Memphis and Appalachian State and a few other teams.
Oregon
And
State, Washington State.
Right, right. And keep going. It could stay a conference. Not near as strong and would be the much weaker conference of all of them, without a doubt. But I could see a scenario where a Pitt and Virginia Tech would get left out of the Big 12 if they was to just take 2 teams. SEC and Big 10 take 2 and Big 12 takes 2. I could see Miami and Louisville getting put in. I could see Big 12 going after Miami and Louisville. What do y'all think? I mean, do you see something like that happening?
Would they look at it? Would they look at a Georgia Tech too, since you already have UCF, and if you're going to add Miami,
Possibility.
There's Georgia Tech sitting there that would be in the vicinity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that would also get you some recruiting down there in SEC country, down in Georgia.
Yeah, they got that Atlanta TV market, which obviously helps. I mean, you wouldn't think, back in like 2012, you wouldn't have thought Rutgers would be a Big Ten team. But back then, they were looking for a New York team, even though Rutgers is in Jersey. But they had a lot of eyeballs for their sake, fortunately. Georgia Tech, I would not be surprised that they get added to like the Big Ten. I would love to see them go back to the SEC. Honestly, I kind of would like to see that, but I don't think that'll happen. But you never know.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll tell you one team that I'm aware of that's in Florida that's trying to get in the conference that maybe the ACC they will be knocking on the ACC doors is South Florida. South Florida is getting ready to build their own brand new stadium. They will no longer be playing at Raymond James. They're spending a bunch of money trying to get somewhere. So is that trying to get in the ACC when some teams move? I can see it. And that's a big market around that Tampa area.
So where was Williams-Brice Stadium on the EA Sports game, Rooster? Where was Williams-Brice Stadium ranked?
I think 16th.
16th? They had those rankings so screwed up, man. There wasn't nothing right about those at all. I mean,
NBA sports people were smoking something.
I know it. I mean, they got teams on there that can't even fill a stadium. They got teams in the top 25 that haven't sold out a stadium in 10 years.
They got Colorado's defense super high, which somebody forgot to tell them that it was in the 120s. Did they not look at the stats, or were they just like, just write it down? Colorado.
So I'm not a video guy. I'm not one to sit and play video games, but I'm gonna have to get this game. I'm gonna have to, and have some fun with it. That's for sure. But it's
I'll
just
have to see the reviews first because I'm not pissing away my money on a PS5.
Yeah, well, I know that's me. I hate to buy a game system for one friggin' game. I mean, but still, yet I want the game. I mean, I really want to play it. I want to.
Yeah.
Now, what I always did with those games is I just went to coach's mode, and I did coaching. I very seldom did playing on them or anything. I'm not good with those buttons and them controllers and stuff.
Oh yeah, I always went with like the player modes. I just kind of went. I always just like ran up the score a lot. I didn't want to take a knee. Hell no.
Yeah, well, I just outcoached them. I would just be a coach, and I would just outcoach them.
Nice.
Especially like the old game, you could play and be West Virginia, and it wasn't nothing to break free with Pat White or Steve Slayton and bust out a 100-yard touchdown run against somebody. But I don't know what this new game's going to be like. It's kind of because
Well-
they've kind of went out on a limb here with these stadiums and with these defensive rankings and offensive rankings. I mean, somebody needs to tell them that West Virginia returned 91% of their offensive production from last year, and I don't know what they were smoking, but West Virginia was pretty damn good in the country on offense last year, and we were number 4 in rushing last year, and we returned everybody, 91% of them. So,
You know what,
Dylan, I see you back in the back room. Can you turn your camera on for me for just a second, Dylan?
You know what they got out of that, Mr. Joy? A lot of free publicity. Because everybody was talking about it. Everybody talked about the list. And people are even arguing over it. I'm like, are y'all seriously arguing over a computer list?
Okay, Dylan, I see you, man.
Like, people were really arguing about that thing. I'm like, dude, it's just is it reality? No, it's EA Sports.
Yeah, that's right. That's true.
It's like,
All right, so Dylan's in the back room. Let me bring him in here real quick here with us. What do you say, Dylan?
What conference do you think Louisville will wind up going to?
Well, that's what I said a while ago. I could see a scenario where SEC takes 2 teams, whoever it might be. Big Ten taking 2 teams, whoever it might be, either Florida State and or Clemson and somebody else. And then I could see a scenario where Big 12 takes 2 teams, and those 2 teams maybe being Miami and Louisville, and where Pitt and Virginia Tech get left out of the Big 12 call. I could see a scenario like that happening.
Yeah, I was thinking that Louisville could possibly join the SEC, but the only team that would probably have much pushback would probably be Kentucky because the in-state rivalry.
Well, yeah. So Louisville is not going to be joining the SEC. Number one, the SEC takes flagship university, and the flagship university is Kentucky. They've already got the flagship university, so they're not going to be taking Louisville. I don't see that happening. Big Ten's not going to take Louisville because, well, let's face it, out of every Power 4 program, Louisville's got the worst academics of any of them. So there's no way the Big Ten takes them. So Louisville is kind of stuck where they're at in the ACC unless the Big 12 comes calling. I think that's the only way Louisville ever gets out of the ACC.
Yeah.
Well, I can see the ACC trying to hold that thing together by bringing in other smaller schools or something. You look at like Coastal Carolina or, like I said, South Florida. Some of them can't. You could see it trying to hold that together. I just don't know if they'd have enough big teams in there to hold on to that power.
Yeah, because they would lose if in that scenario they would lose 6 teams, right? They would lose 2 to each conference, 6 teams total. And so in that scenario, so they would have to bring in 6. So let's just say they go out and grab Oregon State and Washington State. So that's going to increase them, right? That's going to help them, obviously. So they grab them 2. And then what do they have for the other 4? Appalachian State, Memphis. Memphis probably got the most money and be the bigger market and plus all that FedEx money. So yeah, I would say Memphis. I would definitely say South Florida. I agree with you on South Florida. And then, like I say, Appalachian State, and then maybe either Liberty or James Madison or, somebody like that. I mean, I don't know who the ACC would bring in to elevate other than an App State or Memphis.
Yeah, but if you're hanging on to Stanford, you're hanging on to Cal, you bring in Washington State, Oregon State, would you look at adding Boise State?
Well, that wouldn't be bad. that wouldn't be bad. But I think there's a reason that Boise State's not been added to any conference yet. And it's not because they're a bad football program, because they're one of the better ones. It's just that their academics are so bad, so far out there, you know, like really low, like really bad. So I don't know that Boise State would be fit for a conference just because of that. To be honest with you, so I'd have to look it up. It seems to me like they are like really really bad. A academic ranking. Here we go. All right, so Boise State, they're 332nd in the country. Yeah, so their academic ranking is 332nd. So yeah, that's just not going to be Power 4 level. They're not even. I don't think they're even an R1 research facility, which is a requirement in every conference now, as far as I can remember. I think R1 is a requirement in every conference. AAU is not a requirement in any conference, but R1 is a requirement in every conference, and I don't think Boise State is R1 research. So,
What about Notre Dame?
Notre Dame's not. Why would they join a conference? I seen talk about that today, and I'm sitting there going, "What are you talking about? Why would Notre Dame join a conference? What's in it for Notre Dame?" No, can't nobody answer me that. There's nothing in it for Notre Dame to join a conference. Why join?
Well, the only
Number one, they're not going to join the Big Ten. They hate Michigan.
yeah,
Number two, they're not going to join the Big Ten because Michigan hates Notre Dame. So Michigan's not going to vote for them to come in, and Michigan's a pretty big vote in the Big Ten. And it's just not going to happen. And Notre Dame's not going to ask to join the Big Ten because they can't stand Michigan. And they joined the ACC and everything but basketball, so they're already in a conference. And they're not going to go any further than where they are right now. You know, they could save the ACC right now. They could just say, we'll just join. We'll join the conference and let's renegotiate this money. And without a doubt, ESPN and everybody else going to come to the table to renegotiate because Notre Dame wants in football. And they'll renegotiate that contract and they could save the ACC right now. They ain't jumping in there to do it. So
yeah.
I don't think that Notre Dame's not going to care. What's in it for them?
The only way you get Notre Dame to join a conference is you're forced. They have to force Notre Dame, and that means teams are not going to sign up to play them. If these conferences go to 9 conferences game, they're not going to get a lot of power teams that's going to sign up to play Notre Dame. So their strength of schedule is going to be bad, and they're never guaranteed a bye in the playoffs. But now Notre Dame may not care if they think they're getting a home game every year if they make the playoffs. They're financially that's great for them. But I think that the more these conferences grow and the more games you have to play within your conference, they might get shoved out due to just not who's going to play it.
That's a possibility. I think that would be the only way. I think you're right. That would be the only way. You'd have to force them.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in it for them right now.
Yeah, as long as the ACC is going to keep playing them, they're not going to join the conference.
Yeah.
I feel like it's gonna be similar to the Big East, where it's I don't see the ACC dissolving. That's not happening. But they will probably either rebrand their name or, as you said, Joey, they're going to be looking at adding schools like Oregon State, Washington State, San Diego State, Memphis, South Florida, Appalachian State. They're going to be looking at those schools because there's going to be like a mass exodus to the SC and Big Ten. And, the Big 12 is going to get what's left. And I'm thinking the Big 10 is looking at Virginia as a dark horse candidate. Because, I see Notre Dame, Virginia on NBC, but the Notre Dame Louisville game's on the Peacock app. Exclusively on Peacock.
You're right, because Virginia and Virginia Tech are not joined at the hip in any way. So, yeah, Virginia could actually leave the ACC without Virginia Tech. As far as I know, they're not joined at the hip, and there's been nothing in their house to in their legislature to right that ship. So yeah, Virginia is one of those teams that I think that it'd be Virginia, North Carolina, Clemson, and Florida State. And I think those four teams will go SEC, Big Ten, two to one and two to the other, and that's how it'll be. And I think that the Big 12 will take a couple of teams, Miami and Louisville. That's who I'm thinking. It's Miami and Louisville. It could be Miami and NC State. It could be Miami and Virginia Tech. I don't think it's going to be Miami and Pitt. And here's what my thinking about that will be. Brent, your mark is going to look at it as, well, why do we want to go to Pitt? We've already got that market. We've got West Virginia. We've got that television market. We don't need Pitt, Maryland, Washington, D.C. area. We've got all that covered with West Virginia. They're the most watched brand in that area anyway. We've already got it. We don't need Pitt. Virginia Tech, pretty much the same way. You've got the Roanoke, Virginia area. That's where all their market is for Virginia Tech, is out of Roanoke and up to there. So guess what? West Virginia's got a huge following out of Roanoke and Blacksburg area of Virginia Tech and everything. So they don't really need that. So that's where I'm thinking that, that they're going to look towards Louisville and Miami. I think that's where Britt Yormark's going to look. That's just my opinion. And I'd much rather see Pitt and Virginia Tech in the Big 12 because I want to see Pitt and Virginia Tech and West Virginia play every year.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with playing Louisville and Miami too. Hey, look, Miami was a big rivalry back in the day with West Virginia. And Louisville, hey, when they got good, now we always dominated Louisville. I think Louisville's only won 3 or 4 games against us. We always dominated them. But towards the end of our stint in the Big East, Louisville started getting pretty good and started competing, and competing for Big East championships and things on a regular basis. So Louisville is still a good team on a consistent level. And I just feel like that's where Brent Yormark will look. So anyway, I'll shut up about that now. Sorry, I went on and on about
it. Well, Miami's the weirdest team out of all that, because you look at Miami and you say, yeah, that's a television market, but that's not a Miami Hurricane television market. That's a pro sport city.
Yeah.
The vast majority of Miami Hurricane fans probably don't even live in Miami anymore. It's all rotated. I mean, you may have as many Ohio State fans living in that area as you have Miami Hurricane fans.
Yeah.
So it's a weird one just because that market is kind of weird. It's not what you would typically think. You can tell, just watch their games at the Dolphin Stadium. No one shows up for those football games. They can't even give tickets away to fill that thing up.
Well, Dylan, did you have another question for us or another statement?
Do you think James Madison could join a bigger conference?
I think I mentioned James Madison for the ACC. Like if they have 6 teams that leave, they're going to need to fill it with 6. I think James Madison could be right in there on that subject. I'm not saying they were going to get it, but I think they're going to be in there in the subject. Talk about it along with a lot of others. You're going to have Old Dominion in there. You're going to have Appalachian State in there. You're going to have Memphis in there. You're going to have San Diego State in there. And then of course you're going to have Washington State and Oregon State as well. So Washington State and Oregon State would definitely be the 2 nods I would think that they would get. So yeah, I think that Dylan, I believe James Madison could get a look at. I don't know if they're going to get in, but I could see them getting looked at. In my opinion.
Yeah, that's all I have.
And we lost Forrest. I hated that. I had a question for Forrest, so I hate that he had to drop. All right, but Dylan, I appreciate you coming in. You got anything else for us, brother?
Nope.
All right, man. All right.
All right, Dylan. Have a good evening, buddy.
So let's see what Who Football Going Deep says. Thanks, guys, but it's time to medicate the cats. Catch you on another show. Yeah, So that was Forrest. So Forrest, appreciate you coming in with us tonight and stuff. And Forrest, I've been watching some of your videos. I'll send you an email. We need to talk. All right. So anyway, Jackson, you got anything else for us, man? I think we'll close this stream up. I think um as far as I know, what is tonight? Friday.
Friday, July 12th.
Yeah, somebody was going live tonight, and I don't remember who the hell it was. But somebody's supposed to be going live tonight. So, when we figure out who that is, maybe we can go hang out with them. But anyway, I thought we'd go ahead and wrap this show up tonight. Rooster, you got anything else? Tell everybody where to find you at, man, because you got an awesome channel over there. So I know that you've been working on this new stadium, and you're not getting to do your videos like you want, but you're going to be back. You're going to be back with them here real soon, right?
Well, I've been putting out a bunch of prediction videos, trying to get through. The way I tried to schedule it was do all the SEC teams that South Carolina's going to play first, and then go back and hit all the teams that were not playing this year. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been working on, is more the prediction videos. It takes a long time to kind of put those things together because all the stats and stuff you have to look up, and with new teams coming in that don't really have stats from last year, you got to go look up individual player, transfer portal, and all this. It just makes it crazy to try to put together prediction videos because it's all over the place. But Timothy asked, who did I think was going to win the national championship? Oh boy, that's a hard one. But I think you got to go with the favorites, Georgia or Ohio State right now. I don't know if you can get past the talent those two teams carry. But that's it, Mr. Joey. Appreciate you asking me on, buddy.
Hey, I appreciate you coming, Rooster. I really do appreciate it. I love having you on here, man. Come on every week with us. Come on. Anytime I go live, man, come on with me, because you know me, I'm not much of a show host. I enjoy just sitting there hanging out and talking to you guys, but I'm not that much of a show host and things. I just enjoy just hanging out with all you guys. So anytime I'm live, anybody wants to come in here and talk, hey, come on in. Let's talk. Let's have some fun. So I appreciate you, Rooster. I love you, man. Appreciate you coming on. All right, Jackson. Tell us who you think. Jackson, tell us who you think will win the national championship. Answer his question, and tell everybody where to find you at.
Well, I'm thinking it's either going to be Georgia, Texas, Oregon, or Ohio State. Those are my candidates to win the national title for 2024. But other than that, everybody's a playoff team for right now. But also, you can check me out on X at Jackson09960335. And you can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979 at YouTube, where I'm 151 subs away from the magic number 500. I'm making sure I'm getting there before August 24th. That's my goal. And you can also check out my latest 2 episodes of the Jacksonian with Gabby Hurlbutt, the host of Locked On Red Sox, where we talked a lot about what's going on with the Boston Red Sox playoff picture. And we talked a lot about the 20th anniversary of the 2004 season where they ended the championship drought.
That's the cool thing about your channel is it's not just college football. You cover everything. You cover sports, period. You just cover sports.
Yeah, I mean, I play my cards right. I may be bringing on some political people and pop culture people in the future.
Well, you're going to be the next like Kirk Herbstreit or something. I can see it now. So Chris Fowler, you're the next Chris Fowler. You're going to be hosting all the shows. All right, so
best to be, but you can
all right, my pick
out
for national championship. Ooh. You know, so I picked Oregon to win the Big Ten. I picked Auburn to win the SEC just because I'm crazy and I want to. You know what? I'm going to pick Texas to win the national championship. And here's what I think was going to happen. I think that Texas is not going to get to play in the SEC championship game. I think they're going to be left out. But I do think they're going to get in the playoffs, and I think they're going to do it. So I have a feeling that Texas is going to win the national championship. but they're not going to even get to play for the SEC championship game.
Who do you have knocking out Texas?
Well, I haven't looked at their schedule. I've not done a preview of Texas's schedule, so I don't know who will knock them out because I don't know who they're playing. But I could just see a scenario where Texas, gets left out. Maybe loses to Georgia and loses to LSU, and has 2 losses and doesn't make the SEC championship game, but makes the national title, makes the playoff. I can see that. So, all right. Well, anyway, guys, I'm gonna hop off here and call it a night. We do appreciate everybody that came out and hung out with us tonight. We was on here live with you guys for about an hour and a half, hanging out, talking college football. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I will come back again next week sometime. Don't know when. We might start doing a Tuesday live show, just a hangout stream, just hanging out for an hour. So, well, anyway, everybody have a good night. Appreciate you coming out. Be sure you hit the like button on this video before you leave. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. We love you. Thank you. See everybody next week.